All right, guys, so check it out. We're gonna do a indirect heat smoked pork chop on the grill. I'm using South African Bryce salt just for seasoning, ground up to a finer dust than what it normally comes at. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sear. I'm actually gonna do a steak too for my grill while I'm here. I'm not gonna smoke it. So we're gonna use applewood chips for the wood to smoke. I'm gonna put a quick sear on either side. I'm gonna use some wetting chips for the smoke. And what we'll do is we'll sear the pork chop and the steak real good. Like I said, steak I'm not gonna smoke it. I'm just gonna sear it. I'm gonna take it upstairs and fish it in the oven on a certain temperature. We'll do steak some other time. We can do them on the grill. You can do them on the stovetop too. So what I'm gonna do with this Bryce salt is I'm going to heat up each side of the meat that I'm cooking here. The cool thing about Weber's, you can always spin it if one side's too hot or whatever. So I'm going to sear these two. I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to use the salt that's in here. This is made by Marina, B-R-A-A-I salt. This one's with pepper, so this is basically salt and pepper. You can just use Morton's too. This is the one I'm using, so bear with me. We'll get a good sear going on both these pieces of meat, and then a lot of people say don't flip your meat. Whatever. If it tastes good to you, cook it how you like it. Cook it how you know. Cook it how you know what works. So anyhow, let me get a little bit better sear on that chop, and then we'll salt it. This stuff, I ground it up, and we'll drive on. Upstairs, I got twice baked potatoes and asparagus standing by to cook. So, like I said, what I'm gonna do is I've got a hot side and a cold side of the grill. We talk about indirect smoking on the Weber. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take them to the hot side, get the coals nice and hot, throw some salt on them. Remember how I said always have your salt up above your product so it spreads out whenever you drop it down on it, so it evenly goes over and seasons it properly. So with this indirect method, you got the hot side, cold side. Here in a minute, I'm going to take the pork chop, throw it over here. I'm going to put some wet wood chips I let soak for about an hour and a half. They're applewood wood chips. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a circular motion with the smoke by putting the pork chop on the cold side, putting the vent for the top of the Weber over the cold side, over the top of the pork chop over here. I'm going to drop the wood chips on the hot side so they smoke. Leave a little bit of vent in the bottom vent in this Weber. Okay, probably about a quarter, maybe a little bit more, so keeps them smoking. And that'll keep the temperature up. Put the crack in the top on this side, about the same, about a quarter-inch open, and it'll create a circular motion with the smoke and actually smoke your pork chop for you. Pretty cool method for cooking meat that I like to use. For cooking, you can do your ribs that way. You can do pork chops on here. My little brother does ribs all the time that way. So I'm going to flip these one more time each and season them. The steak I'm going to take upstairs. Once I put the chips on it, show you what's going on. I'll pause the video, we'll go upstairs, and I'll show you what's going on in the kitchen with the twice baked potatoes and asparagus. Cool beans. Alright, so got a good sear on that side on the pork chop. Probably hard to see the pork chop and the steak, but they're there, trust me. More salt. We'll flip this bad boy too. We'll salt it. Looking mighty good. So like I said, we're doing indirect smoking on the grill, the Weber. Salting some meat, seasoning it right with salt and pepper. What's up? How's everybody? Anyhow, this is me, Matt, grilling with Matt Wojciechowski, Navy SEAL on YouTube. Alright, so steak's about where I want it. Throw it over one more time. I'm not going to salt it anymore. Might be a little bit more. This salt's a little different than the salt you're probably used to seeing at home. This technique of flipping and salting is totally ways South Africans that this camp in Iraq showed me how to cook them, and or how to salt and use the salt anyway, not how to cook. These guys are awesome guys and awesome cooks. So we'll pull the steak off. I'll take that upstairs. I'll fish it in the oven. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw, the cool thing about this Weber, I said hot side, cold side. Throw this thing over on the cold side. I'll spin it. Probably have a little opening where the handles are on the grill part. and I'll drop my chips in there. This grill's mighty hot, y'all. So, and you can drop them through the grates too. I'm doing a little bit of that as well. But yeah, we'll get a smoke going. I'll close the vents down just a hair, and we'll get some indirect heat smoked pork chops going. So, like I said, I'm gonna put the vent for the top on the above the pork chop, the actual pork chop. Close it down. I'm gonna close down the bottom a little bit, so we have a small opening there too. And beyond that, it's all up to these applewood chips. The chop. Go ahead and do that quick. This little bad boy over here. All right, I like to have mine right about there. Like I said, I'll control the heat. Those chips. These things will chill out, give them smoke, turn temperature down. So, yeah, here we are. Bright salt meat, Weber grill, and indirect heat smoking on the Weber. So you can see how it's starting to smoke already from the wood chips that are in it. I'll barely open it. That way we keep the heat up and keep smoking. I'll leave it in here for a good 15, 18 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, depending on how many chops, how thick it is. You can come back and put wood chips on this thing if you want. I will a couple times. So anyhow, that's it for now. Indirect heat smoking. I'll bring you back for part 2 when we pull it off the grill and see what it looks like. All right, cheers.